Greetings and salutations. This is Thumbs United. We are working on the Cars project. If you were here a moment ago, we were having technical difficulties. My driver for my microphone was acting up, kept quitting and everything, so I had to restart a lot of stuff. But I think we have it working, and it looks like we have sound coming, so that should be good. I'm playing around with new audio settings, so hopefully it's a lot better. But yeah, I was watching the VOD and it was a little too quiet. I mean, like, you could hear everything, but it was still too quiet. So I have the settings changed. But what we're working on now is, this is the Detroit Auto Show, the North American Auto Show. It travels around, but it starts out in Detroit, and it happens every year in January, except for next year. They're switching it from January to sometime in summer. So we'll see how that goes. Their excuse is that not enough people come in the winter. But like, there's a ton of people that come in winter. But yeah, let's get into it. So we have about 2,000 photographs to go through, and they're not like 2,000 unique photographs. These are VR photographs. They're 3D and in 180 degrees. Well, they'll be used for 180 degree VR. They're actually 122 degrees. But it's too difficult to take a picture, one at a time. So I have it set so it takes a picture every 2 seconds. And it's funny because the shutter button, it's the GoPro Hero 3D system, and so the button is so hard to press. Then you never know if both cameras are going to shoot at the same time, and so it's more reliable to have it shoot for like 3 hours, one photo every 2 seconds, than it is to, line it up, take the photo and everything. So there's going to be a lot of duplicates, but because of that, we'll be going through pretty quickly. And so for the 3D and the VR, we only need to select the photos. We don't need to do any of the editing or anything like that. We do that once we start doing the video project in the video renderer, which is Blender. So let me post the links. I thought I could do it while I was talking, but I can't. So do space and let's see who else is. Oh, we have the sale. There we go. And story time, and then YouTube and finally learned how to spell schedule. I'm dyslexic, so once I learn a word wrong, well, it's very hard to learn a word right, but schedule was always one that gave me such problems. And so then I was working on the website, and there's the LCD production schedule, and I had to do it, typed it over and over and over, and I finally got it, memorized. And for whatever reason, it's one of those words that you look at it, and the longer you look at it, the less you believe you spelled it correctly. So you can kind of see this is the back of my grandmother's head. I'm pushing her in the wheelchair and taking photos, which is another reason why I set the camera to do it every 2 seconds, because I have to do everything one-handed. And I mean like really one-handed. I have the VR camera in one hand, and then the 3D photo camera in the other hand. So a lot of these are going to be like foot shots. That was funny because doing the Honda and something, I think it was the Honda and the Chevy section, it took me like 15 minutes to do, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to, because 15 minutes is a long time for two car company sections. And because there were, I don't remember how many there were, but there was like at least 15. And so when I was going there, I was taking photographs for four different mediums. So I was taking the VR photographs and then the 3D. I mean, the VR is in 3D, but then I have a special camera that's better for 3D. It's not just a wide angle 3D. And then I took 35 millimeter, which is what we selected before. That's from the Canon camera, and I shot those all in RAW. And then I shot some film. I took 48 pictures of film. And so what I did was I was going around my goal was to visit everything twice. So I would go and take pictures with the 3D and VR. And then I would go and do it with the 35 millimeter digital and film camera. And so then me taking 15 minutes, it was like, that was way too much time. So after I did the first two, I started running, just like, okay, take a picture of this, boom, 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 boom. And then yeah, I was like essentially running. And like, I do not do well in crowds. I mean, like, it's like in Heavy Rain when Ethan, gets to the crowd and he almost passes out. Like, I don't quite pass out, but I don't do well either. And so it was funny because for this car show, I was slipping in between everyone and everything. I was like, oh my goodness. My friends and stuff, when we used to go to like a concert or something, they were like, okay, we have to hold Lloyd's hand because he can't get through the crowd. I mean, I don't know what it is, but people, when I'm walking through a crowd, people will just walk straight in front of me and like not let me go. And of course they're not making eye contact or anything. And I'm like, I was trying to go in that direction. But I don't know. There's some social construct to walking in crowds, and clearly I don't have that installed. Do not have that installed at all. So this one's gonna have the kind of the worst photo to selected ratio ever, but that's intentional. Because at least the photos are there. And we'll probably get to editing pretty soon. We just have the 2019 car show to do, and then a car festival thing to select. And then we'll go back to 2009 and start editing the photographs. And the photographs we're going to edit, they're taken in RAW. They're with a Canon, and they're 35mm. So, and that will be the easy one to do. I do have some medium format film we're gonna edit, but I might not be able to stream that because it takes up so much processing. Because each photo is about 200 megapixels. It's like 260. Taking a picture of the engine here. Oh, and the good news is this lens that I ordered, I got a gift card for Amazon, and I was looking online. I was like, what can I spend this gift card on? And there was this lens that I've been wanting for a long time, since I was 12. There was this photography store it was before Kinko's and stuff. You would go and take your photos to be printed there, and they could like print large scale and stuff. And if they couldn't print it, they had labs where they would send the photo, and you could get like huge canvases printed on. And so that was called Ritz Camera, and so I would always get their magazine, and they advertised this lens that was 500 millimeters and 1,000 millimeters. And I was like, oh man, I'm gonna get that one day. And so at the time, and this was a long time ago, so I was 12, I'm 28 now, that's like 10, let's see, I said I was 12, so that was like 16 years ago. And yeah, so it was like 400 bucks. I was like, I'm gonna save up for that. And so I just kind of forgot about it. I had other lenses that were okay. I mean, I didn't forget. I mean, I remember now, but and like there was other stuff to save up for. But I found it, online, and I was like, oh my goodness, this was the lens that I used to want as a kid. And so instead of being $300, it was $80. And so I was like, perfect. So I bought it, and it came today. And oh my goodness. So so far it's good. I took a few pictures with it. It came at like 5 p.m. and the sun sets like, it's really low light at 5, and then the sun is down by 6. But I took a few photos, and so I only took photos at 500 millimeters. It has a what's it called? Not an extender, but it has I guess it's called an extender. It's it changes the millimeter to double, so it's a ×2 extender or whatever. So I only did 500 millimeters, and it's a T-mount, which means you put it on the tripod, you attach the lens to the tripod, and then you attach your camera to the lens. The lens actually holds up the tripod because the lens is really heavy, and so the camera is actually lighter than the lens. And so I did that, set everything up. I had my kind of my cinema as acting as a lens hood. It was the cinema barn doors. And I didn't think they would be able to extend far enough to cover the lens, but they barely did, which is like, thank goodness. And yeah, I had my heavy duty homemade tripod, and thank goodness I built that tripod, because the lens and the camera is so heavy that a normal tripod couldn't hold it up. Like, it would not stand a chance. And so I take a picture of my sister's car. I'm maybe 250 feet away from the car, and I can't take a picture of the full car. It was like incredible. So me being about 250 feet away from the car, and it's a small car, I could only get like the headlight and part of the grill. Like that's how zoomed in it was. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is perfect, because I got it for wildlife photography. And I was like, I don't know why, but just 500 millimeters is so much longer angle than I thought it would be. Like I have a 300 millimeter lens, and with the 300 millimeter, it goes really far, but it always feels like, you kind of wanted to go a little bit further. But with this one, the 5 you wouldn't think, an extra 200 millimeters would make a huge difference. It makes a huge difference. And so it was really nice. And I'm going to look at the photos after this. But tomorrow I'm going to try the it's called the teleconverter. So it's a 2x telephoto converter. And so it's a little attachment that goes on, and it will take the 500 millimeter lens, and it adds a couple more lenses to the the original lens, and so it makes it double the focal length. So then it's going to be 1,000 millimeters, and you don't like teleconverters are okay, kind of. They do take they take some definition out of the lens, So if you have like a really high quality lens and you want a really high quality teleconverter, and it does take away some image quality. Optical image quality, not resolution. But, you know, if you get the picture, you get the picture. And a lot of stuff can be fixed in post-production. But this lens, like I said, was $80. And so for being a 500mm lens, that's like a good price, kind of. All the reviews were like, you get what you pay for, it's good, but it's not like, you know, it's not necessarily a lens that replaces. Uh-oh. There's my dog. Okay. My dog's trying to trick me. My mom took her outside. She likes to go play outside at night, like all night long. And so we don't let her outside, you know, that much at night. But 'cause that's like when the raccoons and the opossums come out. We don't want her to get like bit by one of those or get rabies. Or anything. Like, even if dogs get the rabies shot, they can still get rabies if they get bitten. But anyway, the 500mm lens, it's good. The reviews were it's good for being $80, but to give you an idea of like what a normal, like a really good lens would cost, like a 600mm lens would cost like $12,000. 400 would be like $3,000 or $4,000. And so, yes, it's a 500mm for, you know, $80, but it is like a bare bones type of lens, which is fine. But it's like, it's all mechanical. There's no electronics. So if you do the aperture, you actually have a dial that you switch around. And then like if you're going from, well, the largest aperture or the speed of the camera is has an f-stop of 8. So that's pretty dark. I'm not gonna lie, so you should really, like, it was dark taking photos and at sunset today. But we'll see about tomorrow. And oh, it's funny because when you do the aperture, like I have a lot of old lenses where it's an actual dial. You control the aperture through a dial on the lens. That's not electronic aperture. And so before you just, you know, twist to the left and then the iris closes. But with this one, you twist it to the left and then you have to twist this other button, this other knob, and then that will close the iris. And I was like, that's a really weird design. And so then, you know, if you go from f8 to f16, an f-stop of f16, then you turn it to f16, and then you're looking through the camera and it's like nothing happened, but then you have to turn the other knob to close the shutter so that it will go down to f16. And I thought that was funny. Like, how weird. The Hasselblad that I shoot with, the camera I do medium format, if you go from like an f-stop of 2.8 to 8, it will automatically close the aperture. But if you go back to 2.8 after you are at a f-stop of f8, then it will, there's this button you press, and it's only if you're previewing the photo, like looking through the viewfinder, then it will open it up for you. But if you did it without pushing the button, when it takes the photo, it will change the aperture to 2.8. But yeah, it's a funny lens. And so I think, oh, and the other thing that was funny about it was that, like I said, I've been looking at this lens from 16 years ago. And so it came and it was like in its box and everything. And I had a suspicion that was from like a warehouse that went under or something. And so the lens is actually packaged for Circuit City. Like Circuit City went out ages ago, went out of business. So somebody got like a stockpile of merchandise from there and they're selling it off. Like still to this day. So I thought that was funny. But yeah, so the nice thing is that it's all mechanical. So nothing's gone bad. It's pretty sturdy. I've already done some fine tuning on it. To make the alignments a little bit better. But that's the nice thing is that like you can kind of realign everything really easily. But so I got the lens, and it came with a UV filter, and I ordered a circular polarizer. And what a circular polarizer does is it's just like, you know, polarizing sunglasses, where what a polarizer is, it's like really small lines that go a certain way. And so what that does is it blocks out kind of rogue light. And so if it's like really sunny, it will cut down on the haze. If you're on the water, it will actually remove, like if you're on a boat or something, and it will remove a lot of the reflection from the water, so you can see one, it's less harsh on the eyes, but then it also, you can kind of see a little bit further into the water even on sunny days when the water's really choppy. And so, and it's not just water, it's reflections, period. So if you're taking pictures and there's like a lot of reflective surfaces, like let's say you're taking a picture of, you know, a window of a shop. Well, if you put a circular polarizer on that, on the lens, then it will remove a lot of the reflection of everything. You know, if you're outside the building looking in, it will remove a lot of the reflections from outside and everything. So it's nice to do that in camera, because you get so much more detail when you do things in camera than when you do it, you know, digitally. And it's really hard to remove reflections in post-production. To remove reflections and get increased image quality, usually the image quality just goes down. Oh man, here's the Supra. Finally came back. It was so awesome. While we were there, and it was actually while I was taking this picture, there were these guys that were standing next to me, and one of them was just, he was like, "You don't understand." You know, he was talking to his friend. He's like, "This is so awesome. We haven't had this car in like 10 years. And it's finally back within our lifetime." And I was like, oh my goodness, like Toyota should have used him for a commercial, because he was like, it was like nerd rage in a good way. I was like, that's funny, because like, I was really happy that the Supra was there, but this guy was like having a good meltdown. And then this was funny. This is an obstacle course, short circle, and the car would come around, and they go through these like mounds of dirt and stuff, and you could get in it, and they'd have a professional driver come around, and you drive in the car. I thought that was too funny. So now we're in the Toyota section. And we're like finishing up. I'm gonna take a short break soon. And then yeah, we'll go, and after this we'll go through the 3D photos, which will be, they'll be more selected. It will have a lower ratio of photos taken to photos selected. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Okay, I think I'm back. My microphone was falling apart. I'll have to fix it later. Okay, let's... Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Let's get back to work. There we go. Okay, now we're going to start selecting the 3D photographs. And so the difference with this, even though a lot of the photographs are from the same angle as the wide angle lens, the composition is actually better. The wide angle lens is just, it's a shotgun. You just aim it at in any general direction, and it's like guaranteed to get what you want. But the disadvantage is everything, because it's getting everything in that wide range. Everything is like really small. And so with this camera, it's a 3D camera still, but it has a zoom lens, so it goes from about 28 millimeters to like 150, and it's in 3D, which is like difficult to do in terms of lenses. But we get, more focused. There's actually a depth of field in addition to it being in 3D. It's not just a stereoscopic depth. There's also, focusing and everything that's involved with that. And then I get to play around with the exposure and everything, which I was really happy with how these turned out. It's a JVC camera, and so you can set a lot of rules for exposure and everything, and it did pretty well. And again, this one, we're not going to be editing the colors or contrast or anything in Lightroom. All that is done in the video editor, and that's kind of the last step. This is a Lego truck. And they have that tent car. I'm gonna get that for my Mini Cooper eventually. I'm still saving up for it, for the Mini. this truck is it's raised and it has the treads, which is pretty cool. So a lot of heavy duty trucks, and then and these are like the souped up cars. And so the lens on this camera, the N6JVC 3D one, is actually it's a pretty fast lens. And when they talk about like the speed of a lens, that means the quality of the aperture. And so a lot of cheaper lenses, they don't have a large aperture, so they're called slow lenses, and so there'll be like an aperture of 3.5. That's the best it can do, or 4. And like this lens I was talking about before, that's really inexpensive. It's the lowest aperture it can get is a f-stop of 8, which is not ideal for most lenses, but this is the lens I got. It is an outdoor only lens. I can't think of a place where you could shoot 500 millimeters in indoors. And that is the joke about this other lens, is with the lens there's a minimum focus distance, so a camera might not be able to focus like 4 feet in front of it, but everything that's beyond 4 feet it can focus on. And or you get a micro lens and like it can focus on everything up to 2 inches in front of the lens. So there is this range where a camera can't focus over, and then everything beyond that point it can focus. And so with this 500 millimeter lens, it can, in order to be in focus, you have to be a minimum of 35 feet away. Like that's how far you have to be. Anything closer than 35 feet you can't focus on. I thought that was funny. But and like anything that is closer to 45 feet, like if you're at 35 feet, like it's your eyeball. That's all you can see. You cannot get your whole face. But with this JVC camera, it's actually surprisingly nice. It has a really fast lens of 1.2, so it does pretty well in this low light, which it looks like everything's well illuminated, but it's actually very dark in showrooms and car shows and conventions. And so even though it does look like it's bright, a lot of the lights are LEDs or compact fluorescents, and so they're very bright, but they don't shine constantly, if that makes sense. There's like a refresh rate of those lights, so it's very difficult for cameras to see it, but humans don't have a problem seeing it because of our persistence of vision, and so we'll actually kind of blend the light together. But with like LEDs and compact fluorescents, they're actually flickering at a really high rate, and so that bothers digital and film cameras because the quality of light is so much lower in those situations. And so yeah, fast lens is like 1.2, that is like fantastic. 1.8, that's really good. But you have to pay a lot of money for lenses that are in the one area. 1.2 or 1.8. You still have to pay a lot of money for like a 2.8 on a telephoto. But then for like a large telephoto, like 300 millimeter or even 200 millimeter, you have to pay a lot of bucks to get an f-stop of like 4. And so while 4 sounds like a high, f-stop for a telephoto, that's pretty much as high quality as you can get. Okay, so we're done with that. And then this is in Flint, Michigan, at the Flint Institute of Arts. This is called the Golden Memories. So it's a car show of super old cars from like the 20s, 30s, 40s. And so right now what we're going through is the VR photographs are 180 degrees. And again, the way I'm taking pictures, it's a photo every 2 seconds. So I just walk around and then I hold up the camera when I see something I like. And the reason why I do it that way is just because it's a VR and 3D camera. It's 2 cameras that are tethered together. So if you take a picture and then take another picture, there's a chance that it won't line up, or that one camera will crash and the other won't crash. And it's a headache if they miss a line or don't get the right exposure. So it's more reliable to have the camera continuously taking a photo every 2 seconds. And yeah. And so that's why I have it. It takes up a lot more storage, but the chances of getting really good shots is a lot higher. So now we have our Model Ts. And actually, at this event I did take some medium format film. I kind of skipped over editing it because all the photos are going to be used. You don't have to select. And that's funny because a lot of these cars look like they're owned by the original owners. It's like everyone was really old there. I'm trying to like get out and do more events. And get out of the house. Like events where people are, and not so much nature events. But like the average age of people I hang out with is like 75. And so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to the car show, I'll meet new people and stuff. And then it was like, all these people are not helping my age average of people I hang out with. So I thought that was funny. Yeah, and then after this, we just have the 3D photographs to do, and then we'll start editing. And we're almost done. The next one will be even faster. It's the 3D photographs from the same event. Okay. So now we go to the 3D. So some of these will look like the same shots, but they're just composed better. Yeah. Okay. Now we will go back and we're going to get everything that's selected. I'm going to start developing. I'll do about 13 minutes of this. I'm going to get off at 12. And you know what, I might get off now. It's taking a long time to load. I'm actually rendering something in the background, so it might be too much. Yeah, I think it's too much. Yeah, I think we'll call it quits. So I want to thank everyone for coming out. I'll see you tomorrow. We're doing Mass Effect Andromeda, continuing that. So this was Creative Wednesday. The next creative stream will be Creative Friday. And then I'm not sure what's happening on the weekend. If I have free time, I'll stream randomly throughout the day. Sometime throughout the day. But I might be doing something. So I want to thank everyone for coming out. I'll see everyone tomorrow. Mass Effect Andromeda is sometime between 9 and 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And have a good day. Bye-bye.